There are loves that bloom openly, bathed in the warmth of acceptance, celebrated by the world. And then there are those that find purchase in the hidden corners of the heart, nurtured by secrecy, forbidden by expectation. What happens when the architect of an empire, a man whose life is a meticulously crafted fortress of power and control, finds his heart betraying every rule? What if his gaze, meant for the glittering elite, falls instead upon the quiet strength of a woman deemed utterly, irrevocably unsuitable? This is the story of a love that defied the boardroom, challenged societal lines, and dared to ask, can a heart truly choose wrong, or does it simply choose what it needs? Damien Blackwood. The name itself resonated with authority, a whisper of steel and intellect that dominated the corporate landscape. He was the quintessential CEO, sharp, driven, and perpetually unattached, at least in any public, meaningful way. His world was one of glass towers, global markets, and meticulously managed public perception. Love, to Damien, was a variable, a distraction. He was the prize, the unattainable ideal, and everyone in his orbit understood the unspoken rule: no one was allowed to love the CEO. Meanwhile, in the bustling heart of the city, navigating the demanding rhythm of daily life, was Elena, a young woman with an unassuming demeanor but a fierce inner resilience. She was a barista at a small, independent coffee shop, her days filled with the aroma of roasted beans and the quiet hum of customer chatter. Elena carried a quiet grace, a survivor's strength that manifested in her unwavering kindness and the thoughtful depth in her eyes. Her life was a stark contrast to Damien's, a world away from the polished marble of corporate power. She was independent, proud, and often unseen by those who moved in circles far above her own. Their paths should never have crossed, not truly. Damien preferred his artisanal coffee delivered to his pristine office. Elena rarely ventured beyond her familiar neighborhood. Yet, fate, in its unpredictable way, sometimes throws unlikely sparks into the darkest of corners. A minor, unexpected mishap at a high-profile corporate event, a sudden spillage of lukewarm coffee on a priceless presentation, brought Elena into Damien's direct orbit. She was the fill-in for the usual catering staff, a last-minute replacement, a face he would never normally notice. Standing before the formidable CEO, her hands trembling slightly as she apologized profusely, Elena felt the weight of his gaze. It wasn't anger she saw, not exactly. It was an unexpected stillness, a flash of something she couldn't quite decipher in his usually impenetrable eyes. He simply looked at her, truly looked, and for a fleeting moment, the roar of the event faded, and only their shared silence remained. "It's quite all right. Accidents happen." His voice was calm, yet carried an undertone of something deeper, a curiosity that surprised even him. Elena, bracing herself for a reprimand, was caught off guard by his measured tone. She met his gaze, a quiet defiance in her own eyes despite her nervousness. She saw a flicker of something she recognized, a hint of loneliness beneath the polished exterior. That brief, almost imperceptible connection, a shared moment of unexpected vulnerability in a room full of pretense, was the tiny, forbidden seed that would begin to grow. After that unusual encounter, an unspoken shift occurred. Damien, a creature of habit, began to make detours. Instead of his usual delivery, he started frequenting Elena's small coffee shop, always at the same time, always ordering the same precise drink. He would sit by the window, ostensibly reading financial reports, but his eyes would often drift towards Elena, observing her quiet efficiency, her genuine interactions with other customers. Elena, initially bewildered by the CEO's sudden presence in her humble workplace, soon became accustomed to his quiet vigilance. She never directly acknowledged his status, treating him with the same respectful, yet warm, professionalism she offered every patron. She learned his order by heart, anticipating his needs with a quiet smile that rarely reached her lips. There was an unspoken understanding that began to form between them, a fragile thread woven through the everyday routine. One slow afternoon, with the shop almost empty, Damien finally spoke, breaking their routine silence. "You have a remarkable memory for orders." Elena turned, a faint blush on her cheeks. "It's part of the job, sir." He put down his tablet, his blue eyes finally meeting hers without the filter of distance. I've noticed you sketch sometimes, when it's quiet. You have a talent." Elena was surprised. She had only ever done small, quick drawings on spare napkins. How had he seen them? Just doodles, really. Nothing serious. He simply nodded, but there was a warmth in his gaze that was new, disarming. He saw past her apron, past the steaming coffee machine, to the artist hidden beneath. In those brief, shared moments, amidst the clatter of cups and the low murmur of the city, a connection deepened. They talked about art, about forgotten dreams, about the quiet desires of the soul. He, the CEO of an empire, and she, the barista, found common ground in the unspoken language of the heart. "You see beauty where others see only the mundane, don't you, Elena?" The sound of her name, spoken by him, felt like a secret whispered only to her. Elena felt her heart respond, a dangerous warmth spreading through her chest. This was more than a customer-barista interaction. It was a forbidden dance beginning to take shape. Their discreet meetings at the coffee shop weren't entirely unnoticed. Whispers, like tendrils of smoke, began to curl around them. Damien Blackwood, seen talking animatedly, even smiling with a barista? It was unheard of, a breach of his carefully constructed persona. His board members, his inner circle, even his formidable mother, subtly began to voice their concerns. For Elena, the pressure was different. Her colleagues, accustomed to her quiet diligence, started to eye her with a mix of curiosity and envy. There were snide remarks, assumptions made about her intentions. She felt the weight of judgment, the understanding that her connection with Damien, however innocent, was seen as inappropriate, crossing a line that society had drawn firmly between their worlds. This can't last. It shouldn't. One evening, Damien waited for her after her shift. A rare, bold move. The city lights cast long shadows around them, creating a private, secluded world for their conversation. Why do people care so much? What does it matter where we come from? Elena looked at him, her eyes clouded with sadness. It matters, Damien. It matters to them. And to your world, it matters a lot. He reached out, his hand gently touching her arm, a silent plea. But it doesn't matter to me. All that matters is you. His confession hung in the air, a beautiful, terrifying truth. Elena felt her heart ache. She loved him, deeply, with a quiet intensity that surprised her. But she knew the world they inhabited was not designed for a love like theirs. The walls were closing in, built not just by others' expectations, but by the very fabric of their different lives. The choice, it seemed, was becoming unavoidable: continue this forbidden path, or retreat before it shattered them both. The pressure mounted for Damien to formalize his public life, to choose a suitable partner, a woman from his own circles who would complement his power. His mother, an iron lady of society, arranged a series of high-profile social engagements, subtly pushing him towards an advantageous match. Damien, growing increasingly resentful, felt suffocated. Meanwhile, Elena faced a crisis of her own. Her younger sister, Maya, whom Elena had been quietly supporting through college, was diagnosed with a rare, aggressive illness. The medical bills were astronomical, far beyond what Elena could ever hope to earn. She was desperate, her quiet strength pushed to its absolute limits. It was then that an unexpected opportunity arose, cloaked in danger. A former acquaintance, a ruthless and ambitious junior executive at Damien's company, approached Elena. This executive, Mark, had observed Damien's visits to the coffee shop and correctly deduced a connection. Mark, eager to climb the corporate ladder, had learned of a highly sensitive and potentially damaging piece of information about a rival company that Damien was about to acquire. "I know about you and Blackwood. I also know about your sister. I can get you the money you need. All you have to do is leak this information. It will derail the acquisition, but no one will ever trace it back to you. And Damien, he'll never know." Elena listened, her blood running cold. Betray Damien? The thought alone sickened her. Yet the image of Maya, pale and fragile, flashed before her eyes. It was a devil's bargain, a horrifying choice between protecting her sister and protecting the man she loved. She knew the consequences for Damien would be severe, but the alternative was unimaginable. With a heavy heart and tears streaming silently down her face, Elena made the impossible decision. She leaked the information, a calculated act of desperation, ensuring it appeared to come from an anonymous source within the company. The acquisition collapsed, causing a massive ripple effect throughout the market. Damien was blindsided. The fallout was immense, a blow to his reputation and his company. He launched an immediate, furious investigation, convinced it was an inside job, a calculated betrayal. The timing, the nature of the leak, it all pointed to someone close, someone with intimate knowledge. As he pieced together the fragments, a chilling suspicion began to form. He remembered his conversations with Elena, the personal details they had shared, the trust he had so carelessly given. The bitter truth, in his mind, slowly revealed itself. The wrong girl, indeed. The acquisition failure sent shockwaves through Damien's company. He became even more guarded, his trust shattered. The whispers around Elena intensified, now laced with accusations and a cold distance from her own colleagues. She continued to work, a phantom of her former self, carrying the immense guilt of her actions and the agony of Damien's presumed hatred. She saw his hardened gaze in the news, read the articles about his resilience amidst the crisis, and each word was a dagger to her heart. She knew he believed her to be a traitor. Driven by a fierce determination to uncover the truth, Damien pushed his security team relentlessly. They delved deeper, examining every employee, every communication, every anomaly. Slowly, painstakingly, the web of deceit began to unravel. The digital footprints, the financial transactions, the connections to Mark, the ambitious executive, all began to point to a more complex conspiracy. One late night, hunched over the final report, Damien saw it. Evidence of Mark's direct communication with Elena, veiled threats concerning Maya's medical expenses, a detailed plan of coercion. It wasn't a betrayal of malice, it was a sacrifice. Elena hadn't leaked the information to hurt him, but to save her sister. The realization hit him like a physical blow, a wave of profound guilt washing over his anger. He had misjudged her, condemning her for an act born of love and desperation. She didn't choose wrong. She chose survival. For her sister. His heart, once cold and guarded, was now a storm of conflicting emotions. Remorse, a renewed wave of love, and a desperate urgency to find her, to explain, to atone. He understood now that Elena's love, far from being a liability, was a fierce, protective force. Damien found Elena not at the coffee shop, which she had quietly left weeks ago, but at a modest hospital, sitting by her sister's bedside. Maya, frail but recovering, was asleep. Elena looked utterly exhausted, her quiet strength now visibly worn. Damien approached, his heart pounding. She looked up, her eyes widening in surprise, then clouding with apprehension. "Elena, I know everything, every last detail." Her gaze searched his, fearing condemnation, but finding only a profound understanding and a sorrowful love. Tears welled in her eyes. "I had no choice. Maya." He knelt beside her, taking her hand. "You had every choice, Elena, and you chose the hardest one out of love. I was wrong to doubt you, wrong to let my pride cloud my judgment." In that sterile hospital room, amidst the quiet beeps of machines, their worlds finally collided, not with the crash of betrayal, but with the quiet hum of truth. They spoke for hours, pouring out the pain, the fear, the unspoken affection that had always lingered between them. The secrets that had driven them apart now brought them closer, forged in the crucible of their shared suffering. Damien, no longer the impenetrable CEO, vowed to protect her, to provide for Maya, to right the wrongs that had been inflicted. He publicly exposed Mark, clearing Elena's name without revealing their intimate connection, preserving her privacy. He showed the world that his strength wasn't just in his empire, but in his unwavering loyalty. Their love, however, still faced the daunting challenge of their different worlds. Could the CEO, a man of such immense power, truly build a life with a woman whose roots were so far removed from his? Would society ever truly accept their bond? They knew the whispers would continue, the judgment would linger. But this time they faced it together. Elena, no longer just a barista, but an artist finally embracing her talent, found her voice. Damien, no longer just the CEO, but a man profoundly changed by love, found his humanity. Their path forward was not easy, but it was real. Their love was no longer forbidden in the shadows because one heart chose the wrong girl. Instead, it was a love that proved that the heart always knows the right choice, no matter the cost, no matter the expectations. Love, in its purest form, often defies logic, challenges boundaries, and laughs in the face of societal norms. It asks us to look beyond titles, fortunes, and expectations to see the soul beneath the surface. The story of Damien and Elena is a testament to the enduring power of connection, a reminder that true affection cannot be confined by the rules of any boardroom or social elite. When the heart chooses, it chooses with a wisdom that transcends status, embracing vulnerability, courage, and sacrifice. Their love, once forbidden, became a beacon, proving that the wrong choice can often be the most profoundly right one, a love found not in spite of their differences, but often because of them, blooming in its own quiet, rebellious glory.